Okay, so I'm here with Vanessa and David. They're the filmmakers behind What Waits in the Red, which is our nominated film at our festival in Nice. Well done, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
No, lovely to meet you both.
Thank you.
So yeah, if you could just introduce yourselves and tell us your connection to the film, and then we can just go from there, if that's okay.
Sure, I'm Vanessa Stevenson, Tycho Pictures, and I'm producer and actress. Those are my two main roles.
And I'm David Ince, I'm the writer-director of the movie. Yeah.
Brilliant. I should say, don't worry about any of the ambient noise, because although you'll hear it, as you know, that'll all be drowned out. So who would like to tell me what the film's actually about, the synopsis?
So the movie is inspired by Faust, and it's a contemporary look at ordinary people and how they can learn to master their lives. And it's about very bad decisions and the choices that people make and the easy way in which you can fall down the wrong path and sell your soul to the devil.
And how did the whole project come about? What's the sort of genesis behind this?
That's you again.
It's adapted from a book.
Because you're not a filmmaker, you're not a filmmaker per se, were you? Or were
no,
you?
This is my first feature movie.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I've made a few short movies before, very low budget stuff again, and this is our first sort of leap into feature film territory. Yeah.
Right. And was it as horrendous as you thought it was going to be, or was it better?
No, it was fun, right?
It was great fun.
I mean, pre-production, a lot of hard work. The filming was the best thing ever, incredibly challenging. Every moment of every day, it was like 20-hour days for 15 days of filming. And then right afterwards, I said to David, right, now the real work begins.
Because it does look, I have to point out, because we've talked about this, I know the budget is just $7,500, so I don't know how you've managed to put a film like that on screen for such a small, because you know how I feel about it, I think it looks absolutely dazzling. So how on earth did you manage to do that on such a tiny budget?
Prudent budgeting, a community of people who just got involved and helped us and donated things, and people who just got on board. And we don't have any contacts in the film industry. We don't have anything that I guess a lot of people starting out might have. They might have someone, and we just relied on the goodwill of strangers, I suppose.
Was it one camera? It was one camera.
One camera, yeah.
Right, so you couldn't even shoot multi-angle at the same time.
No, so we spent a lot of time planning our shots beforehand. As in, weeks and weeks of planning before we started shooting. So we had a very clear idea of what we were going to do when we got into every location that we were in.
And because, sorry, I interrupted, but because this is your sort of first foray into filmmaking, did you storyboard it?
No.
Right, okay.
No. We wanted to. We had the biggest budget that we started out with, and David had this amazing contact to storyboard it, but then the funding fell through. And David ended up with how many page shot list?
About 40, I think.
40.
We worked out about 600 shots where I noted them down, scene by scene.
And did that in the round? Did you shoot pretty much in the way that
it was fairly close.
Right.
I think actually not storyboarding did us a favour because we had so little control over the environments we were in. I think if we were wedded to a very specific set of shots that we'd storyboarded, it would have made it very hard to be flexible when we got there. So some scenes went exactly as we planned them, some completely didn't. We had to make it up as we went along.
So what about your background then, Vanessa? Is this your first film as well? Have you been involved in or is it this a leap for you as well?
It's a leap in that it's my first film as a producer, my first feature film, but I've produced plays and a sitcom pilot and things like that, and I've been an actress since I was younger, but I've been acting, writing, singing, producing stuff, and this is my first project with David. So first feature film for both of us.
And how did you two meet? How did that happen?
I met Vanessa on the very first short movie that I ever made, and I'd been working as a runner on a student movie, and Vanessa was the lead star in that movie.
So you do have experience, I
tiny bit. Yeah, we made a bunch of very low budget short movies over a few years. A few projects. I think the most expensive cost us £100. And we did the biggest crew was 4. I think. They were really micro little projects.
So, just getting for a moment back to this tiny budget, because it's really intriguing. Consider it's a feature, but so for instance, with the camera, you presumably had to pay for that. Kind of been gifted, it was gifted.
So when we first started making our short movies, we met a very kind gentleman who has control of a location that we wanted to use. And we used it for a short movie.
It is a red you shot.
Yeah, and when we went to him to try and to get the location for the feature film, because we used the same place, because he likes us and he likes our passion and everything else, He bought a camera through his company, which he owns, and he just let us use it.
Crazy.
Because God knows how much, not even to buy, but to hire something like that. Would have been an arm and a leg,
the
wouldn't it?
cost of hiring that level of equipment was
Yeah.
way beyond us. So he bought it, he owns it, but he allowed us to use it, which was really kind of him.
Yeah, because it's £7.5 but suddenly being, God only knows, just for the hire of a camera would have been 10, 12, I don't know, a lot.
Yeah. So we negotiated just about everything for free. We got all the locations for nothing.
Yeah.
Most of the camera equipment for nothing. I mean, the kit itself was very minimal. It was literally just a box. I used 2 of my old stills lenses on the front of it. We didn't have any cinema lenses. We didn't have any follow focus. We didn't have an EVF.
Unbelievable.
Nothing like that at all. It was literally a box with a lens.
Mind you, it just shows you just how good those cameras are. Modern cameras are incredible, aren't
Yeah,
they? And
they
what
are.
you can do with them.
They
And
are,
David developed some good muscles holding onto the bed as well.
Well, no, the thing is, when the shots you know, the stills that you sent me, you obviously know they're huge files, and of course I knew, you can see from that, when you send you can see just the stills, it's a really rendered well, isn't it? It's a beautifully shot film, and that's obviously a great result of working with that camera.
I've done a lot of photography work.
Right.
My background's in photography, so I understand to some degree how to shoot a movie. Cinematography is incredibly different to stills photography, but I knew the basics of how to operate the camera and expose everything well and that kind of stuff. So the hardest part was keeping everything in focus.
And every filmmaker I've spoken to, when I've asked them, is filmmaking an addiction? When they all say yes, it is. But can you explain what that addiction is and why now? I'm assuming you just want to carry on making films, because every filmmaker does after they made a film. I've ever run into anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I've wanted to make movies my whole life. It's just taken me this long to reach a point where I've been able to shoot a feature film. But now that we've started, I certainly don't want to stop.
Because I know we talked about this, and I think you're a writer as well, aren't you?
That's
You do a
right,
lot of writing. Is this more satisfying than writing? Because they're not dissimilar. I mean, they're both very creative. That's the lovely thing.
To be honest, obviously the disciplines are different, but it's all storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's what motivates me. I have a lot of stories that I'd like to tell, and be that as a work of literature or a work of film, it's all. The technicalities are obviously very different, but it's all still storytelling.
What if you had? This is an awful question. If you had to choose one, which one would it be?
I couldn't choose one.
If your life depended on it. Come on.
Oh, I don't know.
Don't worry, you'll never have to make the choice, but
You don't know.
I really don't know. I honestly couldn't make that choice. They're both terrific for different reasons. They really are. Filmmaking is such a collaborative, fun experience. It's not something I'd ever want to give up now. Whereas sitting on your own, writing a story just in words, allows you to explore, who you are and put your ideas down on paper. They're different, but they're interchangeable. I couldn't separate them. No way, I couldn't choose. Sorry.
And is it the same? I'm assuming it's the same for you, Vanessa. That it's this. Once you go, I know you've been acting and been around in the industry for quite a long time. If you know what I mean, in a nice way. So you've got a nice history. You've got a nice history. Is what I'm trying to say. So you've got experience. Is what I'm getting at. So I'm guessing that addiction I was talking about is exactly the same for you.
Do you know, it's the buzz of being on a film set. I've been on a film set as a runner, as the person who makes, just the coffee, and the acting coach, as an actress, as a double, and there's nothing like being on a film set. And yet I'm an introvert, so I need the recharging of being on my own and writing and just being away from people for days on end as well.
So do you actually, which do you enjoy most, being in front or behind the camera?
Oh, in front, come on. I mean, if I could just act and just write, I would do it. But producing is such a, I think if you've been given gifts, and because obviously it's nothing to do with me, you need to just do it. You need to do whatever you've been given. And if it's multitasking and being a creative bohemian and producing as well, you've got to do it, I suppose. But it's hard work.
I know, and I think a lot of people that aren't involved with this industry just see the glitzy glam stuff, but we all know it's bloody hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, a typical filmmaker I speak to, I mean, this might have been the same with you. You might have been shooting from 5, 6 in the morning till midnight, and I hear that a lot. I don't know, but maybe you did. I don't know. And when you're talking about that level of commitment and the financing of it, you suddenly see why it's such a tough thing, because you've got to keep it a managed fund, haven't you? You know, I get that.
Yeah.
So people, I'm sort of putting words into your mouth here, but people that are with you on your project have to have that huge commitment, because they know you've got to shoot for X amount of money.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially on this project, it was very much a collaborative effort. We got really an amazing crew of 8 people, including ourselves. So 8 of us made this movie together. And then it is, I look back and I think, wow, we did good. I think we did great on 7,500, 18 locations, 15 shoot days. How many shots? 700
about 770 I think,
something shots, 1 hour of recorded footage a day. So as actors, we couldn't make mistakes. It was 1 or 2 takes, and then David said, right, we're moving on. And we're like, wait, I'm just warming up. It's insane.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's just basically down to the budget. We couldn't afford enough storage to shoot 1 hour a day.
But it was very much a collaborative effort. And what was great was they got on board because of the script. And initially we had the funding, we had it in our hands, just about to sign the papers. And then 2 of the investors couldn't agree with the other 3 on certain points. And the one said, well, if you're not putting in, I'm not putting in. And so we had to go to the £7,500 budget. And that was only because my dad put in 5,000, and then you and Emma, David's wife, put in, the other 2.5, and that's just production. We won't talk about post-production.
No.
So, yeah, no, it's great when people get together with similar passions, and they're all passionate about it, and we're all on the same level. I love that David suggested this. We're all on a deferred pay rate of this teeny, tiny amount per day. Everyone, runner to producer, and it's great. And
obviously the intention is to sell, to
that would be great.
To find a distributor, someone to take this on board. But how difficult is the process? After the finished film, it's out there. Obviously, it's ready to view. But how difficult is the process of finding? Can you give us an? I mean, I have an idea of speech, but if you can just tell us how difficult that is.
It is the most difficult thing because none of it is in your control. You can do everything you like. We sent out press releases, we've tweeted, we've Facebooked, we've done everything we could except for robbing a bank so that one of us becomes infamous enough to be able to say, oh, we've got a famous person in the film. But this is our calling card. We see it as that. It's Tycho Pictures' calling card. It's our debut feature, and we kind of want to say, if this is what we can make on 7,500, we've got to film a development slate of 6 movies, and every one of them is a bigger budget, a proper budget, an industry type budget, and we're looking, at stars to lead each of these.
Yeah.
So all people have to do is watch the film and say, yeah, okay, I can see this. I want to come on board. Let's get going, so we can make the other 6 films.
I mean, could you envisage a time that if you had enough money that you would remake this with a bigger budget?
I don't think so.
You've done what you wanted to do with it.
Yeah,
I mean, I should have asked you, are you happy with, as a percentage, you had the concept before you start shooting a frame, ready to go, and then you've got the finished film. Is it 90% happy with it, 100%? Where are you?
I think, in all honesty, there are obviously elements to the production value that suffer on the limited budget, but the quality of the performances, the actors that we've had, we couldn't have done it any better. They're terrific. They are absolutely superb, and that's been reflected in the nominations that it's got in the last couple of festivals. I think with a bigger budget it might have been more polished, but I don't think it necessarily would have been a better movie.
And how did you get the cast? It's a bit of a silly question, I know there's a process, but how did you, what was your process for finding them?
Well, I started out the traditional way, looking at show reels and etc., and at 3 o'clock in the morning we found out Jabez, who's the supernatural element, and it's such an exciting moment because he's the most, I guess, one of the most complex characters to kind of find, and so I did the showreel thing, and then I sent David a short list, 5 or 6 people for just about every role.
Right.
And he ended up saying, right, I only want to see this one for this role, that one for that role. And I'm like, David, you can't do that. You need to choose 2 or 3 people. He said, but I don't want to see anyone else. I want to see this person. And I said, well, what if something happens? What if they're not available? What if they die? We need to
have a contingency.
So he said, no, 1 or 2 people per role. And then we met with them for coffee.
Yeah, we didn't do a traditional casting.
Oh, right.
At all. The nature of making a movie, I think, is very collaborative, and I don't feel you get the best out of people when you sit behind a desk and do something formal. So we met everyone for coffee. We just had a chat.
And it worked out really well. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
that's interesting. So you didn't actually, when you were having a coffee, like we're talking now, it's as though we're talking now, they didn't have to act to you. You just wanted to get. Okay,
so we saw their show reels, which proved to us that they could act.
Yeah.
Then we met them and decided whether or not we felt that they would complement the team and we'd all work well together, and we were honest about the reality of what making the movie was going to be like. We had only 1 hour of footage a day. The demands on them was going to be very hard. And then after that, we gave them a scene to go away and shoot a self-tape.
Ah, right.
For.
And then that was the final piece.
And that was the final piece of the puzzle, yeah.
So I've never heard that, because I often get that, we've done a Skype interview and then they had a hard interview and casting, you know.
No, it's that I don't feel that you don't get to know people, and you know, if you're, I mean, our shoot was short, it was only 2 weeks, but you're still essentially living with a person for 2 weeks, and do you want to get up in the morning and look at that person and work with them every day if they're going to be a nightmare, if your personalities are going to clash?
And also that there's so much that goes on with an audition. I hate auditions. I don't know an actor who actually loves auditions or even likes it. So you never give your best. There are others who give their best at auditions or castings, and then they're really rubbish to work with. So we needed to get under the skin and find out who these people were and take it. And I'm really glad you suggested, because I was all ready for the casting desk and whatever, not the couch, just the desk. And David's like, no, we're going to meet them for coffee. And it was great. And it worked.
So you do that exactly that process again?
100%, no doubt.
And is there anything, not necessarily budget linked here, but is there anything that you wish you had added to the film that you didn't, or maybe you wanted to do a scene and you ran out of time? I don't know, as an example.
There are, from a storytelling point of view, simply because we knew that if people were going to work on deferred payments, we couldn't expect more than a couple of weeks of their time, and to realistically shoot the movie in 2 weeks, you know, you've got to be practical about what you can actually achieve. So we had to cut the script. We brought it down, I don't know, by maybe 10 or 15 pages.
Yeah, I was thinking 15 pages.
Yeah, so we cut it down to the bone. So the resulting movie is very lean and swift. Yeah. But it, you know, does the story suffer a little bit because of that? I don't know, but
I don't think so. I don't think the story suffers. We've got the supernatural suspense drama, all those elements in it, and I think it works. It would have been nice to have the other stuff, but they weren't needed.
They weren't essential. No. That's why we could strip it down. But
no, what I say, it's got a lovely look to the film, and it's just, I know I'm harping on about this a bit, but it's amazing to think you've done it on such a tiny budget, really. And God only knows what you went through to make sure that you got it within a certain budget and were able to shoot and do the film that you managed to do, really.
Do you know, I think the bottom line is we didn't set out to prove anything. We didn't set out and say, oh, we'll try and make this film on as little as possible and pay nobody. We really had all the good intentions. We started out the right way. We had a business plan. We got investors, and then everything fell apart, and we're like, should we start this whole process again, or should we just shoot the movie now, because it's been a year? And that's why we decided, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and shoot the movie. And that's, I guess, why it ended up being $7,500.
So how do you, I mean, for instance, I don't know if you've got children, but how do you know you're going to be doing this solidly for 2 weeks, frankly. So all the stuff that you would normally do, which we always find time to do, even though it's annoying stuff or it's difficult, whether it's family life or not, how do you plan around it? Because effectively what I guess you're doing is you are away in inverted commas and you're permanently on this, aren't you, really? So how do you manage to juggle all that?
Well,
I mean, it must be very difficult.
My wife worked on the movie with us. She took a couple of weeks off work, and life just goes on hold, totally.
Yeah.
Everything stops, and you just work on the movie.
And was there any point where you're making the film, not saying this is just like really hard and it's harder than I thought it was going to be, and did you ever think, maybe halfway through, should we change it and do this, that and the other? Or so in other words, were you adjusting as you went? Were there times, or did you pretty much shoot to how you wanted it to be?
I think there was a couple of occasions where logistically things had to get moved. We ran a little bit behind schedule, a tiny bit, and we had to catch that back up. There was one scene we had to reshoot because it started raining. Yeah. We had to find a time to get back there, didn't we? And
we were all taking squirty bottles of water and squirting the car. I should have added this to the anecdotes of the press time. Squirting water all over the car. Yeah.
But basically, it was because we knew that everything was going to be so tight, and it was coming. It really did come down to the wire. We just planned it and stuck to the plan.
And we were very fortunate because we had Michelle Raitt, who's worked on big budget movies like Doctor Strange and The Martian and Ridley Scott's Batman trilogy. So we had her expertise, and she was our first AD and line producer. Blimey. So she kept us pretty much.
Yeah.
And how did you manage to hook up to her? Did you know her?
I've known her for a while, yeah.
Oh right, so it's another favour here. I think.
Yeah. So
well, no, because
she's worked in really many different roles in the movie industry, but she's only ever been a sort of first AD and line producer, I think, on short movies. So this was a step up for her as well. And she's very much part of our core team. So
Mind you, must be brilliant to have her with you.
she's just got a
All
wealth
that
of
experience.
knowledge and
Amazing.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
really
helped
good.
a lot with the script development. Without her, it wouldn't be what it is.
Yeah.
And what's next? I know we talked about it, but can you say what it is you're planning post this film?
You can say.
Well,
You
you don't
say.
have to give too much away.
It's,
Just give us
so
bare bones.
the next feature movie,
Yeah.
which is called Serving You, we're keeping the plot very much under wraps
Yeah.
at the moment, and we're well into the script and in the development phase. But
We can say it's a comedy drama, though,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's a terrific idea. It will do really well.
And I suppose the $64,000 question, if you excuse the pun, is how will you raise what's necessary to do that? This is because I suppose you're kind of using this as a proof of concept,
Exactly.
and this is your card, I suspect.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right now, all of our efforts, all of our energies are going into getting What Waits in the Red distributed and getting it out there so that we can pay our investor back and pay everybody who actually worked on it, etc., etc. At least do that, and then we'll be focusing our energies on film 2. But film 2, the script is just about there. We just need to tweak it and polish it, and then we're ready to go.
Yeah.
So I assume, and which is a dangerous thing to do, I know that you're planning on having, should we, for argument's sake, 3 cameras for that, or but no, but one, I don't know. That sounds.
I didn't see his look. All I saw was
That sound. What I'm trying to say badly is, you're presumably going to, and that's obviously part of the budget call here. You have, because you made a feature, you now know much more what it is you're going to need to do the
Yeah.
next film.
Absolutely.
So I'm using that as an example.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
won't have 3 cameras, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm guessing you two have got a plan. So well, we've done it this way. Now we know we've got to do this, that, and the other for the next film.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose the question I'm asking is, how do you plan in terms of, because you built something, you made something, you know all the pitfalls and all the advantages and disadvantages. So how do you go about planning that for this film? Is that all in place already?
Not
really,
really.
no.
We haven't, again, we haven't even looked at anything except for the script and except for the 1 or 2 leading guys,
Yeah.
because obviously they're going to have to be names.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, we haven't looked at it. We do know we're going to need a few more crew members.
Yeah.
That's for sure. We'll
Yeah.
follow focus or gaffer, something. David was literally, he was lighting, cinematographer, DP. I don't even know if that's
Who
the
done
same
the
thing.
sound? Did you do the sound?
No.
Oh, that was an amazing woman, Mo O'Riordan, and she's had 12 years of experience at BBC, films,
Right, I'm saying, yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
and she is phenomenal. More than half of our crew were women, so and I love working
great.
with women. I do. Sorry, David. They're amazing. They're just so conscientious, and their attention to detail is fantastic.
Yeah.
And they're
definitely.
not, it's nice. It's nice for the guys to have something to look at, so it's really lovely.
I brought up about the sound because the sound is really good on it, and I failing often if I ask a filmmaker, because I kind of avoid the question now, is sound is, I can't remember who said it, I think George Lucas is like 50% of the film, and there's so many filmmakers, if I do ask them, say, is there something you would change? I should have spent some more time on the sound.
Yeah, that was
It's
a
okay,
biggie.
but yours is really good. and that's
We knew
reflected
that
in the film.
going in. I think because my background's all on the visual side of stuff.
Yeah.
Sound is a mystery to me. I don't know anything about it.
No,
So
I
I
know.
knew it wasn't something that I could cover if needs be. So we had to get someone in to
And then
record.
Maureen did the most amazing job because we had the most challenging locations.
Was she
Ambient sound
there?
everywhere.
Was she there? She was actually on set with
She
you,
was
wasn't
actually
actually
on
the
set,
sound
yeah.
Of course she was.
recorder.
The whole time.
So she
yeah.
was the recorder and mixer and everything.
Yeah.
No. So she did that on set, right?
Yeah.
But offset, the post-production, that was Jonathan Vincent and Clive Arundel, and then the master mix was done by Rich Aiken of Nimrod Sound. Again, favors. It was insane. And Jonathan Vincent, who is an award-winning composer, actually did our soundtrack, and he and Gavin Alexander, a local musician in Kent, they, the two of them worked and created a song, especially for a particular scene as well.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And they did it all basically off the back of the script, and just the fact that we were pushing ahead.
The
with
score
it.
is
Yeah,
amazing. The
was
score
really
is
good.
haunting and beautiful and just exquisite. I want the soundtrack. It's so beautiful.
So the very first time you saw the film on a big screen with other people, what's going through your heart and head?
Fear.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, because of people's reactions.
Just because you've all worked. Everyone has given so much.
Yeah.
No one's been paid. You know, they've just given their time and their commitment, and you're responsible for delivering something back that is worthy of their investment in you. And we just hoped, I think, that people were proud of it. You know, that they thought they'd made the right choice to climb on board with us.
I mean, it must be very emotional to see your film like that. You know,
Yeah,
when you put all that effort in, any filmmaker, it must be, I'm not saying you had tears in your eyes, I don't know, but it must be a case of seeing it. It's just hard. I can't relate to it because I've never been involved in filmmaking, but I can only imagine how amazing it must be to see that.
It was pretty
finally.
cool.
It was great, yeah.
David had a digital cinema package made, so the DCP that would go into cinemas, he had it made for our cast and crew screening, so everyone would get the best look at the film, and it was pretty spectacular, actually.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
So you've had a DCP made,
Yeah.
because that again is quite expensive. Did you have to pay for that or manage to?
Yeah, no, we couldn't get that.
That's one
for
thing
free.
you had to
Yeah,
pay
but
for.
we had
yeah.
to. There's certain festivals that we entered, and they require a DCP. So
Right.
in the hopes that we get in,
It's funny because with us, we've avoided going down that route because we just think,
and we appreciate that.
yeah, we're just, the reason we've done it, we looked at it, but the reason we're not doing it is we just think it's another expense to demand a DCP from a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So, but having said that, I totally understand why you'd want one because, yeah, if you're going to put it on the big screen, presumably you've got to have a DCP
Yeah.
for it, so I
Yeah.
understand that. That's it. Thank you very much.
Great.
Steve,
Thank you very much.
So,
Thank you.
so
No, it's
much.
wonderful.
It was lovely.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
lovely
Thank
to
you.
talk to you.
Much like you, the shape of my life was determined before I was born by the social class of my parents. I would work on the farm, supplant my father, and rear workers of my own who would one day supplant me. But I wanted more, so I rebelled. I left home in the middle of the night. I slept in the back of carts and in ditches by the side of the road. I survived by working, begging and stealing. Contentment is a myth. Everybody always needs more. We compromise our values and rationalize our choices, no matter how abhorrent. I have been where you are. I know why you've done the things you've done. The people who killed your mother are coming for you. But I can make you powerful.
You want me to sell my soul to save my life?